Everybody, my name is Simon, and today I am going to talk about the changes on Earth. So, before we need to know about the changes on Earth, we must know about the Earth's layers. Earth has three layers: the crust, the mantle, and the core. The crust, it is the part of Earth we are standing on. Is it is have different kinds of rocks, and it is 37 kilometers, 23 miles thick. Now let's dig deep down 37 miles, just as the cross said, and then let's go into the part of the mantle. The mantle is made up of two kinds of rocks: igneous and metamorphic rock. Those rocks forms mostly there because it has a lot of heat and pressure. Also, mantle is actually made up of a hot liquid called magma. And it always flows and flows just like oozing toothpaste. That is oozed out of a tube of toothpaste. Then let's go to the core. The core is actually it is the innermost layer of Earth, it's right at the center of Earth. It is made up of iron and metal. So the outer part is a very hot liquid. You thought that it can literally melt the center of it. But the center is so very tightly packed that it stays solid. It's actually a solid. It's not a liquid like the outer part. There's some kinds of landforms or shapes on Earth's surface. There's a glacier. Most that you have seen in countries like near the North Pole or the South Pole. Mostly countries like Iceland, Finland, America, Canada, just some countries like that. Most of them have glaciers. It is known as a large moving body of ice, and it flows slowly downhill, down a river. There's also a valley too. A valley, which is a kind of low, narrow area between some kind of two mountains. It has two forms. It can be made of a river or a glacier. A plateau is a kind of plain that is higher than the land around. For example, this is a normal plain that you often play on, but a plateau is higher than that, like this. You see? It's higher. And let's go to the mountains. Mountains, as you know, there are lots of mountains all over the world. Mountains is a very high landform, even higher in my building. It is so high, it is higher than the land around it. Mount Everest is actually the highest mountain ever. And the people who walk to the top of it must have a very strong form of body. Or you might suffocate because when you got to the top of the mountain, the oxygen there is tense. It's dense. It has only a little bit of oxygen, and most of them is water vapor because you're near space. Let's go to the volcanoes and earthquakes. Volcanoes, it is a kind of mountain. It's near like a mountain, except that it erupts lava at the top. Here, I'll show you a picture. You see? It just erupts. How does it erupt? I'm going to tell you. It collects magma in some large pockets deep underground called magma chambers. When the pressure is too high, the magma chambers will issue the magma up into a tube called the central vent. It goes up a tunnel until it reaches at the top. It reaches the crater and it erupts at the top like this. But sometimes the pressure is so high that the tunnel sometimes bursts into smaller vents going side from the volcano. Let's change to earthquakes. How does it happen? Earthquakes happens by faults. Fault is a kind of crack on the ground. Sometimes the cracks might get bigger and create a very big earthquake. Or it might be because of the crust is moving. Actually, I'll tell you a fun fact. Our Earth is not actually one big piece of land. It is divided into several pieces of it's like a piece of jigsaw puzzle, which is called tectonic plates. When the tectonic plates move together, which is known as crust, it starts moving and then sometimes move upward like this, move apart from each other like this, or sometimes move side by side. When it moves against each other like this, sometimes it might go up like this. Here you see, it will go up higher until it forms a mountain. Or sometimes it might go up apart each other. When this is the two pieces of land connected together, sometimes when you're standing still, you feel vibration under you. And it's so strong you couldn't guess what it is. But then when the crack forms, you fall straight into it. Now you know it is an earthquake. Or sometimes it moves against each other, which only causes vibration and sometimes even buildings toppling over another. Let's go to the part where it is weathering. Weathering is an action which breaks rocks into smaller pieces, like a big boulder. And it sometimes breaks in tons of pebble and cobble. There's some sizes of rocks, kinds of rocks. First, let's start with the biggest kind of rock, boulder. A boulder is so big, sometimes it has a lot of colors, and it is 300 millimeters. A cobble is 100 millimeters, a size of a hand of a human. A pebble is 30 millimeters, only like this. It's a small one. When it comes to sand, it is 1 millimeter. You can't even see its particle. You nearly can't see its particles. But when you come to silt, each is a very tiny speck, even tinier. Like nearly like this. It's so tiny you can't even see what it is. And even clay, you need to use a microscope to see the clay particles. Now let's go to erosion. Erosion may be caused by water, wind, water or wind. Erosion caused by water happens when sometimes sand and mud flows during a flood and then comes to another piece of land. I'll give you an example. Like a dirt mountain. Then it floods and then the mountain gets more smaller. That is erosion. Wind. Winds actually mostly erosion by wind actually mostly happens in dry regions. And wind blows sand and dirt from place to place to place. It just blows continuously, blowing from place to place. So now you know that our Earth is always changing. Sometimes it might be volcano eruptions, sometimes it might be earthquakes, or sometimes it might be erosion or weathering, which is happening so slowly you can't even see how it looks like. So that's all for today. Thank you for listening. Goodbye.